How's it going, Cade?
I'm good, brother. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Nice relaxing weekend. Looking forward to this Friday, NGRN. It's going to be a blast at the Sands Club. So
It's gonna be sick. Sorry,
sad.
I won't be there, but I know it's gonna be awesome.
I'm bummed out you're not going to be there, but next month will be good. So I'm looking forward to this traditional style meeting where we're not going to have a speaker just come up and everyone's going to kind of hang out and chat, normal networking, and then next month we'll kind of start the speaker gang back up. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So again, this Friday, 5:30 to 8:30, Sam's Club. But I'll guess we'll just hop right in. Kind of got a jam-packed meeting today. Lots of good stuff. So on my end, the S&P 500 last week did up 0.82%. Year to date, they're up 19.1%. So terrific returns there. The Dow is up last week about 2.5%, and year to date, it's up about 6.91. So now, like I said, we're starting to see those slow and gradual moves on that, starting to appreciate. The Russell 2000 up last week 0.67%, up 12.25%. And one indice I haven't been including, but I'm really bummed out that I haven't because I checked today again and I was like I'm just completely blown away and don't know why I haven't been including it. But the NASDAQ was down last week 1.15%. However, year to date, it's up 35.2%.
Holy
So
crap.
massive returns from the NASDAQ. So I just think, as my call to action was last week, it's going to be the same this week. Keep buying. Don't let these numbers say, oh, the market's too good. I've passed and I've missed up my opportunity. Because again, it doesn't matter how long you're in the market, or it doesn't matter when you time the market. It matters how long, because those days that those big swings happen is where a majority of your gains are made. And so just keep on with your periodic payments, keep taking advantages of deals, and really, whether that's in real estate or investments, just keep your plan solidified and keep doing what you're doing. Don't make any changes or adjustments. However, getting into these numbers, like especially on the NASDAQ, these are times where you start to have conversations and you look at allocation and diversification, right? Because let's say you have a portfolio that's well designed and now you have seen a 35% increase on your NASDAQ. It might make sense now to reallocate those funds back to your traditional portfolio, or take the sell, take the gains, and throw it into maybe a good real estate deal that you come across. Like, this might be a time to really look into reallocating. But again, keep your periodic distributions, keep putting money in, because it is super important. So
I love it. And didn't you say, Drew, I think last week, last year, overall the market was down. I can't remember do you remember the
25% ish.
25%? Okay. So just to get back to where we were last year before it tanked, the metrics would have to hit 25 to
Well,
just break even.
actually upwards. So it's a good thing you said that. So when you have fallen, let's say you have $100 and you want to get to $120, you would need a 20% return to get to that 120, right? However, if you're starting at $80 and you want to get to $100, it's not a 20% return. It's actually a 25% return, because you're starting with less money. So you have to make up. So when the market drops
Got
from
you.
its high down 25%, the new marker starts at where the bottom was, right? And so
Right.
you have to make up more than 25% just to get back to the break even before
Got
you
you.
even start. So like the 35% that we see in the NASDAQ, we're probably just about at that break even, maybe a little bit on the positive side. We're still down in the Dow and we're still down in the S&P for sure.
Yeah. So
So
let's say you had all your money in the NASDAQ, right?
mhm, mhm,
You took it out before last week. So you're taking out money negatively from last year because you're down.
mhm.
And so just like you mentioned, I'm trying to help out your point, is that especially for young guys like you and me, it makes more sense to just hold it, keep applying, keep applying, keep applying, keep applying, keep it, because it's just going to continuously grow over time. But the minute you get nervous and take out all your money, you just lost a crap ton of money, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Too many people have it. We, you hear this terminology, this phrase, buy low, sell high, right? But so many people reverse psychology do the exact opposite. They see stocks are lowering, and so they think, I'm going to sell to preserve the money that I have. So they're selling low. And then they see stocks are skyrocketing. So they're like, I got to buy now to get on the gains. And they're buying high. So I have had friends and people that I know that are consistently selling out at $80 and buying it at 100, or selling out at 75 and buying it at 90 per share. And so they're consistently losing money, and in their mind they're thinking, oh, I'm making money because maybe the shares went from 90 to 95, so like, hey, I've netted $5 a share. But they had sold for a $15 loss. So when you look at the grand scheme of things, they're at a negative 10, but it's not standing right in front of them because they're not tracking it, or they're just not, they're not keeping those mindsets up to date. And so, making sure that you are just, again, like you said, buying and holding. And then when you are willing to make a move, right? Like, you're either taking that money and you're putting it into an alternative asset that makes more sense, or you're reallocating your funds. You're not living on it, especially when you're, your age, my age, when like buying a nice car could seem like something you want to do, but it's not smart. If you don't have the money to do it, you shouldn't, right?
Right.
And so when you get older, then that's what you do this for, is, you will retire on this fund. So you will take money from it. That's the point. That's the whole point. But, in the short term, where we are today, where you and I stand, just keep doing it, because it doesn't matter what the market does today and tomorrow, but I can almost guarantee you with 100% certainty that in 15 years from now, the market will be higher than it is right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
Awesome.
Sweet.
That's good to hear that it's kind of on a rebound though.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's healthy, but don't let that fear you. Like, keep putting money in. Cause again, similar to like what you've said about interest rate and housing prices, right? Like, you're going to catch them now, or you're going to wait and they're going to be higher. And then you're going to say, dang it, I wish I would have bought when they were here rather than here. But I think that's a perfect segue into you and what you've got. So hit us up, man. What are you going to be talking about today?
Yeah, thanks, Drew. So today I'm going to be talking about affordability and supply. And I really want to hit home supply and demand for real estate in the US as a whole. So the National Association of Realtors just came out with an article that I think is very important, talking about the supply in America, specifically the number of listings that are missing to come back to a balanced market. So a lot of the questions that I'm getting from clients is, well, where do you see the market going in a year? Blah, 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 blah. I understand it's a concern, right? But to be honest with you, no one knows the future. But we can look at data to kind of help us articulate what could come of the future in the market. And so with that, I want to share my screen and just show you guys what I'm seeing here. So can you see this, Drew?
I can indeed.
Cool, cool. So what we're looking at is just a quick little graph here, and it's separated by three kind of parts. So we have our income. This just shows all the different types of income in America and divides it up. Then we have the share of listings that households can afford to buy. So it's showing us April 2023 and versus what a balanced market actually looks like. And then we have the number of listings missing. And this is really what I want to focus on. This is the amount of units of homes that would have to be built in order for this income bracket in the US to be able to afford their average home in a balanced market. So for instance, people who are making 100,000, so $100,000 households would have to be there would have to be 285,000 homes built in order for people within that income bracket to find themselves in a balanced market, to where they're paying, a balanced price for that home because it's in a balanced market, right? And so the biggest jump we see is for the $75,000 income bracket, which is where most households are going to find themselves. And this is the largest shortage of homes in America, is the $75,000 income bracket. And they would have to build about 320,000 homes So basically a 51% increase in order for this income bracket to find themselves in a balanced market. And so that is a huge amount of homes, huge amount of homes. Any normal subdivision, right? They're probably building, 300 to 400 homes, and that's a pretty big subdivision. And so, in Rancho Saudita, that's kind of where we're finding ourselves. We're getting a lot of homes built. And so 320,000 homes would have to be built like tomorrow in order for everyone who's home shopping in the $75,000 income bracket to find themselves in a balanced market. So I just wanted to hit on that because that shows us right there how in need the US is for housing. And I want to hit home the point that real estate's a supply and demand issue. Okay, so with no supply and a high demand, you can expect prices to remain high. And then with low demand and high supply, you can expect pricing to fall. And so notice how in supply and demand, nowhere in that equation does it calculate for interest rate, because interest rate does not determine home pricing. It may affect the length of time homes stay on the market. It will affect people's ability to obtain financing, but it will not affect pricing of homes. That always comes down to supply and demand. And so I just really want to hit that home for people because according to the metrics here from the National Association of Realtors, the supply is in absolutely low supply, right? And so there's another graph on here that I didn't show, but it just shows the average home price just continuing to climb. And that really won't change unless we see any number of those homes in those income brackets start to get built at a rapid pace. So biggest call to action, Drew, just like you mentioned, if you guys are maybe a realtor, you're helping clients, or you're actually a consumer looking to buy yourself, maybe you're wanting to, get started in some real estate investments, understands that the US as a whole, right? These are just very general numbers. Your market's going to be very specific as well. So make sure you're getting specific market data to where you're buying. But as a whole, we are in a huge need of supply of homes, and this is going to continue to keep pricing high moving forward. I just really don't see it going down. And just one other thing I could say too is a lot of my clients are having to, fight with multiple offers on homes. And that just shows me that, hey, a lot of people want the same home, which means there's not enough homes out there. So the pricing can't go down because you have people willing to pay a premium, right? So again, goes back to supply and demand. If you guys have any questions on that, feel free to comment on this video or shoot me a text. But yeah, just biggest call to action, try to get in now. If you're a consumer, if you're a realtor, use some of this data to, educate your clients and show them, dude, we are in a huge need of supply of homes. So I just really don't see prices going down or, a huge 2008 crash or anything like that.
That's wild. That's wild to think about too. Like the fact that we are in so many missing, homes, yet homes are, becoming more and more unaffordable for the average income earner. It's like, I don't really know because it's more and more unaffordable, but then again, there's still this massive demand. So we're in sort of for a wild ride in uncharted territories to see, what happens, whether, there is laws that people get paid more to kind of catch up or what's going to happen next, because it doesn't seem like the people who are getting left in the dust are ever going to be able to catch up. And so that's the biggest, sad thing. I mean, I keep seeing all my, my friends that are just like waiting on the sidelines. And I'm like, man, you are getting left in the dust because you're not pulling the trigger and just running like you should. So.
Yeah. And dude, I don't really know what the answer is either, to be honest with you. Because I'm sitting here and I'm working with these clients every day. People are having trouble getting qualified. And then there's some people who just have 500 grand in cash. And it's just like, how? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it just doesn't make sense in my head. But, I think the reality is a lot of people have cash. A lot of people have equity. I think 40% of homes in America are paid off, have no debt. So that tells you right there, like 40% of the Americans who own homes in the US are probably worth, what's the average home? Like 250, maybe 300 grand.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, they have 300 grand in equity
Yeah. On top of their other assets, crazy.
on top of that. So it's just, then you put those metrics together and you're like, wow, most of the US is probably sitting pretty good, right? And
Mhm.
they have that in their toolbox, whereas in, people with credit card debt, student loans, car payments, they're going to be left behind because they're just taking on too much negative crap to actually help them, qualify for a house. So, my biggest call to action and biggest piece of advice, like, have no debt, pay off all your crappy consumer debt as soon as possible if you can. That way you could get financed for, a much bigger loan amount. And then if you can, look at other income opportunities. There are so many jobs out there. You don't have to stick to just the job that you maybe hate or barely gives you any money. Like if you can learn a new skill or get into a business that has incredible income opportunity, or just another job that with your skills you can get paid more, entertain those options. Try to get into something where you have a much bigger income capability than just being stuck where you're at, because the first thing lenders are going to look for is your debt to income ratio and your credit. So if you have a ton of crappy debt, there goes your credit. And if you make no money, there's your debt to income ratio. And so if you can just manage to pay off all your debts, work on maybe getting, higher income skills or a higher paying job, now you're, beating, 60% of the people out there that just can't make it happen. And, I think that is the biggest issue, Drew, that I see, honestly, and probably you see a lot too, is people just have so much freaking debt, bad
Mhm.
debt,
Yeah.
Is that what you kind of see too?
Absolutely. I mean, in 2021, when consumer debt levels were at the lowest of the low because stimulus checks had passed and, people weren't spending money because they were staying at home, but still making money from their jobs. So in that era, and debt was at the lowest, it was still at $96,000 per person. That was the average in debt. Now that does include mortgages, but as you just said, you're keeping in mind that 40% of all mortgages are paid off, or 40% of all homes are paid off. There's a lot of bad debt out there, student loan debt. There's, car debt. I mean, stupid stuff that people are credit card debt. And I get you got to drive a car and I get you have to go to school to get a degree, but like, that's where the whole conversation of is like making sure that you are educating yourself and your younger peers who are making these decisions to say, hey, maybe community college is an option. Maybe don't go to college. Maybe try a commission job first. If you can't do it, then go to college. You don't have to drive the nicest cars. Those sorts of decisions that you can make now to impact the life forever is super important. And so, yeah, I mean, those debt levels are causing you to skyrocket. I mean, these people are buying, $900 car payments and they're living at home with their parents. And I'm like, really? Like that's a whole house. My mortgage, my condo is 573 a month. I'm completely transparent. That's
Right.
not, that's a car payment at this point, but it's because
Yeah.
I bought it a while ago, so taking advantage of those deals and opportunities when they come up.
Yeah. And I think it's important too, for especially younger people, Drew,
Mhm.
what we're recommending here is not just a recommendation. Okay. This is what it is going to take, because how are you going to buy a house over the person who has $300,000 in equity and they're going to be paying cash and competing with you in your offer? You are not beating them. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah.
If you do, that seller, kudos to the seller, whatever. I would never recommend my client to take that, but you are not beating out that person. So why would you get the house versus, someone who has all that equity, they have a high paying job, they have less debt? You're not going to beat them. And so what Drew just said here, pay off your debts, buy a car that's super cheap, right? Be smart about your money making decisions early on. That is how you win. That's how you're going to be able to buy the house. That's how you're going to be able to start making investments early on, is you do that stuff. If you're in all this debt, credit cards, student loans, car payments, all this crap, it's going to be very difficult, very, very difficult it's going to take you, I would assume, probably a decade, if not longer, to just get in a position financially where you can comfortably afford that payment versus where Drew and I, and I'm not saying this to be cocky or anything by no means, more as an education piece, the only debt I have is my triplex. That's the only debt I have. Everything else gets paid in cash. And so like I am going to get a loan way quicker than, the person who has all this debt. So everything we're recommending is specifically for younger people who are like, how, millennials and all this, how am I going to buy a house? Well, you don't take on stupid debt. You save up your money for a down payment and you just handle your money extremely well. That it's not an option if you want to buy a house as a young person. You have to do that. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
You
And
have to.
And I kind of want to hit on something too, real quick. And I hope you don't mind me sharing this, but it's not like we're not practicing what we're preaching as well. I met Cade and his car broke down and he did not go out and buy a 2020 car. He didn't go out and buy a 2022 car. He didn't buy this super nice, luxurious car. He bought like an 06, 07 Honda Civic that didn't even have air conditioning for like 6 months in Arizona. So like, because he knew what he wanted and he knew he didn't want to have to owe money for, ridiculous car payment for a car that he didn't need. He just needed something to get him from point A to point B. So
Thank you, brother. Yeah. So, but you're right. That's what it takes. Okay. For young people, if you're a young person, if you're in your early 20s, even early 30s, that's what it takes. How are you going to compete with someone who's older, has so much more money, and has all their stuff paid off? You will not beat them. I'm telling you right now. And so if you have to pay your dues. You know how people always say you come into a company, you got to pay your dues. It's basically you got to go through the ringer before you can ever expect to, get what you want, is basically what that means. And so it's no different with money, investments, and all that. You have to go through the ringer. You have to pay your dues. You have to do the work. You can't just, avoid the work and expect it all. You have to do it. And then from there, that's when opportunities and options will open up for you because you've done the work. So for what it's worth, you guys, you're not competing. If you're a younger person, you're not going to be competing. Again, from the supply and demand here, we're seeing pricing does not look like it's going to be going down. I can't predict the future, but from what it looks like, it does not look like it's going to be going down. And you as a young person are not competing with someone who has a ton of money and who's been making money for the past 3 decades. You're just not going to beat them. So for what it's worth, be wise with your money, manage it extremely well, live well below your means, very well below your means, as cheap as possible, and save up your money, do it right. And then once you get that, career started, you buy your first place, that's when all of these pieces can start, falling into place. You're going to start making more money. You're a little more solidified. But for now, you have to sacrifice a lot to get into that point. And I have conversations with people my age and they're like, oh, I want a house, I want this, I want that. And it's like, no, you're not going to get it. You know why? I know why, because I know what it takes to buy that. And you have so much tremendous freaking debt, you can barely pay your debt on a monthly basis. You are not putting a mortgage payment on top of that. You know what I mean? And so you have to get rid of those things. So anyway, I know we went on a tangent, but Drew, I know you have a really good quote.
absolutely. Yes. So to end the video, the quote is, if your business depends on you, then you don't own a business, you have a job. And so, just making sure that you are making this, you are the head of the house, you are the head of the job, you're running it. Because if not, then it ain't your business, it's your job.
100%. Drew, and I know we're running long on this video, but the great thing about it is we make it, so we get to choose how long it is.
That's it.
How do you feel? Because I always thought it interesting, as both of you and I are, commission-based businesses here. And so for me anyway, I feel as though I have to be the face of a lot of my business. So how do you overcome that mentality of I have to be the face of my business to be able to actually grow this thing based on that quote, right? If I'm doing everything, I'm just creating a job for myself. So how do I get rid of that false belief or that mentality that I have to be the face of everything because it's my brand, You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I have to do it because people know me. So how do you feel like in a commission-based structure, maybe just a business owner because they're similar?
Yeah,
How do you go about that?
absolutely. So, I mean, first and foremost, it's creating systems that can be replicable. Rep, what is it?
Like
Rep,
repeatable, I would
repeatable. Yes.
replicable. Yeah, I don't
Yeah. Things you can replicate. And so, yes, indeed, like making sure that you have that
know.
process, those systems set so that everybody, as we were saying I think last video, like setting those steps, setting those things that everyone gets the exact same experience, no matter who comes through the door. And then once you create those systems, then it becomes super easy. It becomes a well-oiled machine. And then as you grow and you bring on new associates, maybe, so I'm bringing on junior advisors or I'm bringing on administrative help. When those sorts of things start to happen, there are systems that have already been built into place and set in stone. So that way someone else can sort of just take in from me. And then as I become more and more successful and I want to start going on vacations and maybe step away from the business for a little while, I have people that know exactly who my clients are, what they need, what their systems look like, what exactly is specially to them. And it's all super easy and communicatable. So that way, you can sort of step away from the business and you're not relying completely on yourself to drive it. So how about you, man? You feel the same
Beautiful.
way?
I feel the same way. Nothing to add. Just, creating those. And I think, Chad Casper was a great speaker.
Oh yeah.
He was our last meetup, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And he's done a very good job with it in the sense that he's built such an awesome team that you can expect the same service every time, you hire them. And so just looking at, someone, maybe a mentor and the sake of this conversation, who's a step above us, he's built such an amazing brand, but really a team that can help support that, system and process and brand that Chad has so successfully built.
Exactly.
So
And just to hit on one more thing with that too, is like, his home inspections that go through, like I've talked to realtors that use him and they say it doesn't matter if it's Chad or if it's Jovan or if it's Kurt, which for those of you who don't know, those are two home inspectors that are underneath him. It doesn't matter who shows up. The experience is the same. They're all likable people and they all work to make sure that the clients have a great job and that it's something that if you were just looking at the work, you wouldn't have been able to tell who did it because there is no
yeah,
individual. I mean, there's individuality, but it's generally the same in terms
yeah,
of service. So
I love that.
sweet, man.
Awesome, man.
Well, this Friday, 5:30 to 8:30 at the Sands Club. I look forward to seeing everybody out there. Again, it's just a normal networking. There's not going to be a speaker, but we'd love to have you come out.
Thank you guys so much. If you guys need, you know what, and we're just going to promote ourselves for a second. If you guys need any investing, financial advising, life insurance, call your boy Drew. He's literally the best in town. He'll get you set up. I personally, I think I can say this. I use Drew, and I feel very well represented, feel very taken care of. And the reason that I like using Drew is because I personally hate stocks. I hate, investment, all that. It's not that I hate it, I don't understand it. And so the peace of mind it gives me to where I can just focus on my business and real estate and hand everything off over to him has been absolutely amazing. So if you guys were like me and you're doing it all yourself, you don't really know what you're doing, but you are actively investing, consider going with Drew, give him a call, see what he can do to help you out.
And honestly, same goes for you guys when it comes to Cade, multifamily investing, residential purchasing. Cade's the guy, Cade's the man. He knows what he's talking about. In fact, I'll share a little bit. So I'm currently trying to work a seller carryback deal myself to try to absorb another unit. And I didn't know where to start. I didn't know how to structure the deal. I didn't know what questions to ask. And I went to Cade and asked him for help. And he was a blessing in disguise. I mean, I knew he was going to do a great job and I knew he was going to assist me, but making sure that I understand everything to a T, because there's so many different, terminology, phrases, different things you need to know. And I understand it all now. And I never felt stupid throughout the process of trying to learn. So again, if you have questions about real estate investing, residential purchases, property management, all of that. He's pretty well versed in the entirety in the realm of real estate. So definitely reach out to him. So
awesome. And all of our information is in the bio below. So you guys can reach us through their phone numbers and emails, I believe.
You are awesome. Well, Cade, you have yourself a great rest of your day, and thank you so much for the shout out. I look forward to seeing everybody on Friday.
Sir, can't wait. Thanks, Drew.
You're welcome.